Legislative ladies and baronet boys, table your tittering topical questions, practice your guillotine motions, and why did no one bring rolling papers to the joint committee?
This whole chamber's out of order. It's time to talk Tull to me.
Here,
Talk to me.
Knock, 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 the podcast is in session. I am Owen Thomas Sade.
And I am Nick McGill.
Together we are the legislating body, the Feckless Momes.
And this, my silly white wigs, is Talk Tull to me.
A non-committal motion behind the portcullis of Prog Rock, in which, on the nod, Nick and Osmotherly Omen will break the code of conduct by drafting dummy bills on the subject of each and every track that recess rock band Jethro Tull have ever shouted throughout the reverberant chamber. We will mark the maiden speeches of Martin Lancelot Barr. We will fill our dispatch boxes with the duties of David Pegg, and we will pass a motion of confidence on behalf of Jerry, Crown-appointed Conway. And it do take confidence to make that motion. And if through our minority maneuverings we can catch the eye of the fluter, we may just win the vote of the musical mace, the cross-bench composer, the unwhipped unicorn, the shadow cabinet of sky, the ping-pong piper, the life pier leaper, Ian, I abstain, Anderson.
It's good. He does abstain from most things.
He does abstain. Yeah. I think the world would be calmer if everyone abstained a little bit more like Andersonian.
He abstains with the best of them. Nobody abstains better than Ian Anderson.
He broke the mold of abstinence.
No. I'll only have one tea this evening.
That was the mold.
Oh, that was the mold. Yeah, okay.
Nick, we find ourselves not abstaining from the tracks contained on Nightcap, the unreleased masters, which were then released, because now we're listening to them.
So they, for the briefest of time, they were unreleased, and now in perpetuity, they are released masters.
The released and unreleased masters. It's like the once and future king.
It's the Schrodinger's masters.
Schrodinger's masters. Are they released? Are they not? Who knows?
Don't look in the box.
We are now on a track that was recorded in 1981.
Correct. This is track 11.
Track 11, it was recorded at Maison Rouge Studios, Fulham, London. And Nick, what is it called?
This is going to be Commons Brawl that we're going to chat. We've got Ian, of course, Martin Barr, Dave Pegg, and Jerry Conway.
We sure do.
The lineup we've had around this era. And just to put it in chronological order, A was in 80, this was in 81, and Broadsword was 82.
So Peter John Batese was around during this time, but is not featured on this track, so don't go looking for him.
Don't listen at all. Period.
Throw away your MP3 player into the lake.
Throw out that Zune. iPod Mini? Is that what the little one that was clippy? Is that what it was called? An iPod Mini?
The iPod Shuffle.
Called. Oh, the Shuffle. That's what it was.
Yeah. Too soon. Why don't we go ahead and have a listen to Commons Brawl?
That was good. Yes, let's listen. Let's box our ears. No? Brawl and fighting? Boxing
Yeah.
your ears?
Cauliflower ear.
Yeah. With cheese sauce.
The speaker recognizes Representative McGill.
Barrister Omen, was this the first time you've heard this?
Under oath, I can say aye. I vote aye.
How do you feel about it?
Oh my gosh! This whole album is just like a box of trinkets from the attic that you just don't know what you're going to find. This is such a lovely track.
It's all over the map, but it's so delightful when you get these weird little, like, why is this song so peppy? It's so depressing.
Why is this song so peppy?
It doesn't work, but I like it.
I find it delightful. I'm really excited to dive into the music because there is a lot going on there. When was Inverness Sleeper recorded?
So funny you should ask that.
Oh, you have that information?
Yeah, because it reminds me of Inverness Sleeper so much. Yeah. So Inverness Sleeper was the information on the Broadsword Remaster 3 vinyl box set says that specific vinyl that has Inverness Sleeper falls into says that those tracks were recorded between 81 and 82.
I'll take it.
Yeah.
So I think what we both clocked is that the mandolin work especially is very reminiscent of Inverness Sleeper.
Very much so.
Wide awake down at Euston Station.
So plucky, it's so forward and audible, I think is what really makes it remarkable in comparing the two.
You mean it's more forward and audible in this one?
In the both of them, they are very forward and audible.
Ah, okay.
Which they're not usually. You can hear a plink here and there, you can hear a little noodle, but these are very prominent in these two.
Very, very prominent.
Yep.
And what I particularly enjoy about the mandolin work in this song is that it is so forward, it's so well done, and it is contrasted with some nasty, toxic guitar work. I mean, guitar work that would not be allowed by the EPA.
The two differing sounds. Some would say, do they work together?
And we would say, shut up.
And we would say, shut up, it's Jethro Tull. You trust the process.
Trust the process. Yeah.
That serious, like, electric chuggy guitar is quite the juxtaposition to that really light, airy, plucky Mando, but it somehow works. And I think it works with the general idea of the song as well.
Absolutely. There are moments where it's a little bit discordant, and I can only assume that's intentional.
Yeah.
Also, if we just take the guitar in isolation, it is a sound, it is a particular tone that I don't think that we've heard before. It's got a very nasty, it's like a devil guitar. It's like the devil has taken over Martin's body and is shredding it out.
It's very heavy metal sounding, to be honest. Yeah.
It is.
So much more. Well, I mean, what it was, a broads? No. What?
Get it.
What won the heavy metal? Was it Broadsword?
Steel Monkey. Crest of a Knave. Crest of a Knave.
Thank you. Okay. So it was a little before Broadsword. So this is Martin really embracing the heavy metal.
It's Broadford Bazaar Sword. It's Broadsword Bazaar. That should have been our name. That should have been the name for this podcast.
So good.
Broadsword Bazaar.
Yeah, that's
take it, but we're gonna have to re-record everything.
Yeah, I mean, I could probably just change the names. It would be actually, honestly, changing the names and all of the art and all of that would be more work than just starting over from scratch.
There is another element to the music that is well worth discussing.
Is it that penny whistle?
Yes, it is that penny whistle. First of all, it's not a sound that we hear super often in Tull. We hear it from time to time. Mm-hmm. But I think that this is maybe some of the best penny whistling, the best piping that we've heard out of Ian.
It's nice. It's fun. It's clean. It's brisk. I think we also hear some flute in there, like way nestled in the back.
Yes.
Will kindly try to restrain themselves in daring do.
But when that penny whistle comes through, it's really bright. It's the acid in the umami heavy dish.
That is a very good metaphor.
Thank you.
Let's talk a little bit about the function of the penny whistle versus the flute. Like, what makes them different fundamentally?
One costs a penny.
And one costs a
fortune.
A fortune. Well, the big first obvious difference is that the flute is a transverse blowhole, where the penny whistle is a straight front mouthpiece.
Right.
those are industry terms. So if anyone's confused, that's fine.
Reach out to your local professional musician.
Yeah, please. Or a priest. But the other big difference is that the penny whistle, it's obviously a lot shorter than a flute.
Yeah.
And it only has holes. The flute has keys. So with the same number of fingers, you can play a lot more different notes on the flute because you can key this thing which opens a valve or closes a valve, depending. Mm-hmm. It gives you a lot more variety of notes to play from. Whereas the penny whistle, there are only so many holes. You either cover them or open them, and it's a more limited range of notes. That being said, there are some very, very finicky, tricky ways that you can get half notes or quarter tones out of the penny whistle, but it requires a lot of skill. And somehow, around 2 minutes and 25 seconds, Ian plays a blues riff on the penny whistle, which, let me check, should not be scientifically possible. It's almost like a bluegrass riff.
Yeah, it feels jiggy to me, yeah. About the penny whistle, it's basically just a small recorder, right?
They're similar, yes.
Okay.
It's also called the tin whistle because it's made of tin. That's what gives it that kind of real bright, can be harsh sound.
Gotcha.
Spare a thought for those folks whose children take up the penny whistle.
They start with the recorder. That's what we started in elementary school. Did you? Like everybody had a recorder.
Yeah, I had a recorder. But just the way that Ian is, I don't want to underplay, I don't want to downplay how difficult it is to bend the notes like he is doing on a penny whistle, because it doesn't function the same way that a flute does. You can roll the flute and get different tones out of the same key. To bend a note on the penny whistle, you have to kind of slide your fingers and let just a little bit of air through one of those holes, and they're all very tiny.
Yeah.
It's insane what he's doing with that.
Have we ever seen him play the penny whistle in concert?
Not to my recollection.
Oh, wait, no, didn't he do it in just not Acres Wild. What's the one with the tractor that he did at the end of the
one with the tractor, Farm on the Freeway.
Farm on the Freeway. Didn't he that one in Farm on the Freeway? I seem to remember him pulling out a little whistle for that.
In the most recent concert or before?
The one we just saw.
He only had two flutes, and one was the small wooden flute, and one was his regular.
Oh, it was a little wooden
flute.
one. Gotcha. Yeah.
But that's a flute. That's
right.
Transverse.
Right. Okay. I misremembered. I remembered a tiny flute, a tiny wind instrument.
Yes. The bass, the drums also doing great. There's a lovely tone to the bass. Mr. Peggy is slapping away on it, and it's got a lovely kind of fresh sound to it.
In the very beginning, the very, 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 very opening, we hear it's almost a strumming. Is it a really low guitar, or is it a strumming of the bass itself? Dum, 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 dum. Yeah.
I'm confident it's the bass.
It is, okay.
But there's a flanger or something, some sort of a pedal being applied to it, so it's not going dum dum dum. It's going.
Yeah. Okay, that's what it is. What a weird sound, but really fun.
Really, really fun.
Yeah.
Really odd. A unique track, a mysterious gem from the depths of the records
of 1981.
A mysterious gem from the depths of 1981.
Probably aren't that many gems from 1981.
We weren't born yet, so...
Exactly. Reaganomics. Trickle down.
We had yet to trickle down. Speaking of trickling, there is a very long fade out on this track. I got to about 20 seconds left in the track, and I was like, they must be doing some more stuff in this track. Nope.
What's going on here? How are they going to wrap this up? Oh, okay.
How are they going to get out of this one? Gee, crikey.
Could be wrong, but I feel like at certain points, His voice has like the tiniest little filter on it. Not all the time, but I feel like there might be one or two spots where I heard it. It just didn't feel as clean as other parts.
Punch when the government as the jackets off, they charge heaven rent. Scratch gouge went the other side as the party firmly did divide.
That could totally make sense. It could also be that it hasn't been remastered.
That's valid, yeah.
When was Nightcap released?
92, I think, in the UK.
Maybe that's just a function of the recording and storage and revivification process.
Yeah, it's possible. It's possible. Time frame? What'd you get here? Time signature, rather?
Oh, it's 4/4.
It's just 4/4?
I think so. I don't think there's any other shenanigans going on.
I feel like there were some leftover notes that didn't quite... I was expecting it to be 4/4, and then he started singing like halfway through it. I was like, well, what the hell? I feel like there were one or two instances of that. It could be the fact that I do have difficulty counting to 4. So it's possible.
This man is in charge of an entire tech department at a major American university. I think it's in 4/4, but I think that he might do some funny pickups.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think we discussed this last week too. Same thing.
He might pick some funny ups.
I hope he does.
Somebody had better pick them. Otherwise they'll wilt.
They'll rot on the vine. Omen, here we are.
Oh,
halfway.
Hello.
Here we are. We've got just a tiny little email here, and quite fortuitous.
Oh.
Actually, because it is labeled Penny Whistler.
How well timed.
And we just talked about it. This is from Georgie K, return writer inner Georgie K.
George K.
From Melbourne, Australia. He says it in his sign out. It says George K, Melbourne, pronounced Melbourne, not Melbourne, Australia.
Melbourne,
Australia.
Arnar.
I love that sound in the Australian accent.
So silly.
It makes me laugh every time. Every time. Anyway, from Georgie K. G'day, Momes. As mentioned in my last email, I'm going through your songs from the Wood episodes and recently just completed The Whistler. Great song. I was surprised that you were both questioning whether Ian was playing a penny whistle in this song. I think you both concluded it wasn't a penny whistle, though I may be mistaken. Frankly, I don't remember. That was eons ago.
I thought we thought that it was, but who knows?
Who knows? I'm mainly surprised because if you look at the official video clip of this song, and I hasten to add one of the very few and perhaps only Tull video clips that doesn't make me cringe too much, Ian is seen with his entire head filling the screen, wild eyes and all, playing you guessed it, a penny whistle.
Uh-huh.
Well, that's at least what I think a penny whistle looks like, though once again, I may be mistaken. I'm going to take a gander at it real quick here.
Yeah, tell me if it's a penny whistle.
Oh, this video looks kind of cool. Ian in full James look, except he doesn't have the beard.
Okay.
He's playing the acoustic. It's so nice to see him play acoustic on his mini guitar.
Yep. Missed that little instrument.
And just looking directly into the camera as he sings. Not even blinking.
This video brought to you by eye drops.
Wait for it. We're on the chorus.
Mm-hmm.
Was that him on drums? Oh, no, it's not. Oh, yeah, that is a penny whistle.
Officially, we have it.
With a blue plastic mouth tip.
Huh. To represent the blue of the ocean and the sky.
Jack in the Blue.
Jack in the blue. Acres blue.
Yep.
Blue acres green. Wait. My blue and pleasant land. Nick, welcome back to the second part of the podcast. This is where we talk about the lyrics, the poetry, the prose, the penmanship of one Ian Anderson and Associates. And here we are discussing the lyrics of Commons Brawl. Why don't we start it out by saying what is the Commons to which Mr. Anderson is referring?
The House of Commons in the great state of England.
He does give it to us at the end of the first stanza, yes.
Yeah, it wasn't too much of a puzzle. But the House of Commons is the lower house of Parliament of the UK. Yep. Like the upper house, the House of Lords. It meets in the Palace of Westminster in London, England. And It is an elected body consisting of 650 members known as members of Parliament or MPs. In the States, MPs are military police.
That's true. That's very true.
MPs are elected to represent constituencies by the first past the post system and hold their seats until Parliament is dissolved in a vat of acid.
Why? Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I was going to say, that's why they don't leave it out in the rain. Yeah, so UK politics, you have, like you said, the House of Lords, the House of Commons, and then you have the Prime Minister, and then off to the side, but also still above or below or lurking somewhere, you have the royal family.
I just realized something.
Go on.
So House of Lords is like the landed gentry, rich, old stodgy white assholes, and the House of Commons is like the common folk.
I mean, yes, basically.
Generously calling them common folk, but yeah.
Well, but I do think my understanding is that the House of Lords is non-elected at this point. Still.
Oh, of course, yeah. Of course. You have land from your great-great-great-great-great-great-grandfather.
Yeah.
You get to be in the House of Lords.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe a very well-connected, wealthy person could work their way in. The House of Commons started evolving in the 13th and 14th centuries, and it really began to gain shape when Great Britain formed a political union with Scotland.
Well, that's exciting.
Yeah, thanks, Scotland.
Thank you, Scotland.
Its flag is a beautiful portcullis with a crown on top of it on a field of green, and I actually have a delightful silk pocket square, which is a green with the slightly lighter green portcullis on it.
Specifically to represent the House of Commons?
It is specifically a pocket square of the House of Commons.
That's very strange.
My English in-laws gave it to me, and it's a beautiful color.
It makes sense.
So, here we have a brawl being described in the House of Commons. All right and honorable gentlemen, and lady too, singular lady.
Singer, just the one. Not too many.
Yep.
Don't want too many in there.
Will kindly try to restrain themselves in daring do.
All right and honorable gentlemen and lady too, will kindly try to restrain themselves in daring do.
Daring do meaning an act of heroics.
Yes, yes. And already we're starting to get a little bit of the sense of the language that is used in the British Parliament, which is really, really funny.
Very staunchly set in tradition.
Yes.
Very floral, very nonsensical.
I read that one of the linguistic rules is that the House of Commons does not refer to the House of Lords by name, nor does the House of Lords refer to the House of Commons by name. If they are in chamber, they say, the other house.
Okay, silly, but
silly,
you know,
but probably there's some reason for it that nobody can remember.
That's the way they did it in the 1300s.
That's just what we do in Tucson, Arizona. As hot verbal graffiti flies and echoes wall to wall.
As verbal hot graffiti flies.
Ooh, that is a line which I particularly enjoy.
I love that line. So good.
As verbal hot graffiti. There's an implication, especially if this is early 80s, that graffiti is something vulgar, something destructive. And so, yeah, and it's hot graffiti.
Right.
In this case.
Yeah, it is a pejorative.
Yeah. Our precious model of democracy, it's the House of Commons Brawl.
Our precious model of democracy, it's the House of Commons Brawl.
Yeah, so we're setting it up with this flowery language, this tradition, but we're immediately also being told shit's going down. There is a verbal altercation in this precious model of democracy. Mm-hmm. So many air quotes or inverted commas, as the Brits say. It is the House of Commons brawl.
Now, brawling and political houses are not unknown to each other. I actually couldn't find a lot of stuff on the physical violence within the House of Commons.
Yeah, I tried to find a specific instance where this could have been the inspiration.
They were very good at covering it up. However, the American House of Representatives and the American political system has a long history of fistfights, cane fights, knife fights, and all other forms of pugilism, especially when you get into the state houses of representatives.
Oh, I bet, yeah.
Federalist Congressman Roger Griswold of Connecticut attacked Democratic Republican Party Representative Matthew Lyon. This is in 1798.
Oh, just before I was born.
Attacked Matthew Lyon of Vermont with a hickory walking stick in the chambers of the United States House of Representatives. Griswold struck Lyon repeatedly about the head, arms, and shoulders while Lyon attempted to shield himself from the blows. Lyon then turned and ran to the fireplace, took up a pair of metal tongs, and having armed himself thus, returned to the engagement. It's another one. John Wilson, Speaker of the Arkansas House of Representatives and President of the Arkansas Real Estate Bank, 1837, stabbed Representative J.J. Anthony to death during a legislative dispute on the floor of the chamber. Anthony had suggested that the bounties for the killing of wolves be administered by the president of the state bank, a responsibility comically beneath an official of Wilson's stature. Incensed, he drew a Bowie knife and attacked Anthony, who was unable to defend himself despite drawing a knife of his own. It just goes on and on.
So I'm looking at a couple instances that fell in 80 and 81 in the House of Commons.
Oh, good.
So there was one in July of 78.
Mm-hmm.
During points of order about debates on the Scotland Bill, members of the public threw manure into the chamber from the gallery. The speaker suspended the sitting for 20 minutes to allow it to be cleaned.
That's great. That's creative and fun.
Yeah. So this is from a list of incidents of grave disorder in the British House of Commons. That's what it's called. After that, we have November of 80. Points of order were being raised by a government announcement of increased rents for council houses when the gentleman usher of the Black Rod arrived from the House of Lords to summon MPs to the ceremony of prorogation of the session. Labour MPs refused to allow him in, demanding more detail from the government on rents. The Speaker suspended the sitting for 11 minutes. On resuming, Labour MPs continued to press for more details from the government. After a further suspension of 15 minutes, the Secretary of State for the Environment made a longer statement. Not a whole lot of drama there. Seems a bit silly.
It seems like there's maybe more happening that we're not aware of.
Yeah, right. And then the last one that could possibly be it, but it's the tail end of 81, so I don't know when Ian wrote this song, but this is November 81. Ulster Unionist MP had been murdered 2 days before, and the Secretary of State for Northern Ireland made a statement on security. His statement was disrupted by members of the Democratic Unionist Party from the members' gallery. The Speaker suspended the sitting for 10 minutes. On resuming, all three MPs were named, quote unquote, and suspended from the service of the House. The sitting was suspended for a further 10 minutes so they could be removed by force.
What that points to me is that this was a time of upheaval. And if you've ever seen video of the House of Commons, it's just them shouting at each other.
That's all it is. It's very silly. Yeah.
And they get very creative with their insults, which is fun. The Black Rod is a formally appointed position by the Crown, and it is responsible for controlling access to and maintaining order within the House of Lords and its precincts. So it sounds like it's a House of Lords thing, but maybe it... Oh, former Black Rod David Leakey said that 30% of his work as Black Rod was within or for the House of Commons. So I guess it's sort of is a go-between role.
Bounces back and forth, yeah.
Anyway, getting back to the text. One member from some dark mill town, furious, did cry.
One member from some dark little town,
I like that they're just saying he's from somewhere, probably some ill-behaved place.
Yeah, right.
As spittle frothed from folded chin to dim the lie that surfaced briefly midst the rush of booze and loud catcalls. Let's finish this here and now at the House of Commons brawl.
Spittle froth on folded chin to dim the light. That surface briefly missed the rush of booze and loud catcalls. Let's finish this right here and now at the House of Commons brawl.
So, I get the image of spittle frothing from the folded chin and the image of the rush of booze and loud catcalls. We've seen that on videos a lot.
Sure.
They all yell at each other. Where is the lie coming from that dimly surfaced? Is it coming from the member of the Dark Mill Town, or is it coming somewhere else?
So that seems to be the inciting incident.
Ah.
And then he gets up to defend or make up some bullshit story, and in the process is being booed for it.
Yes. Yes.
Or he said something that was clearly a lie, is being booed for it, and then it escalates and he gets angry because they called him on his shit.
I like your original one, which is in the midst of booze and catcalls, somebody says something pointed against his town, and he stands up and is outrageously incensed about it.
It's not a dark mill town. It's a bright mill town.
It's a bright mill town. With your support, it's a bright mill town with a future. 20 years, there'll be a McDonald's and a KFC there.
Oh, can't wait.
Can't wait. Kick punch went the government as, with jackets off, they charged heaven bent.
Kick punch when the government as well jackets off, they charge heaven bent.
I love the detail of them taking their jackets off because they're restrictive garments.
Yeah, you need a full swing.
And perhaps the takeaway is that part of the reason that gentlemen wear jackets is to force them to use their words.
Might be it.
Yeah.
Is that what Beau Brummel would say?
He would say, could you lend me £100? I have some debts which are very difficult to get rid of.
100 pounds will go a long way.
Not as far as you think with
Not
him.
for him. Scratch gouge went the other side as the party firmly did divide.
Scratch gouge went the other side as the party firmly did divide.
The first time I heard this, I had a little bit of a velvet mondegreen, which was scratch gout.
Not impossible.
No, not impossible. Maybe would make more sense for the House of Lords.
Yeah, right, exactly. Rich, salty foods.
Lots of fats.
Lots of fats.
As the party firmly did divide. So here's something interesting. You know, it is the case within British politics, and this is a little bit different than American politics, that there is more space for non-majority parties. You know, in the US,
right,
for as long as we have been alive, it's pretty much the Democrats, the Republicans, and any third parties are almost seen as a joke. In the UK, it's still mainly two parties, but there are other parties who actively do participate in the government. And it is more usual to see parties turn in on themselves and say, well, you're this faction of the party, we're going to oust you. And so that line about the party dividing, I think, has more meaning in a British context than it does in an American context. Although now we're kind of starting to see some of that stuff here in America.
Yeah, valid. This is such a Donnybrook, such a hullabaloo. It's so heated that even the party can't come to terms with picking a side.
Huh, interesting, yeah.
So it's not left versus right. It's kind of just a free-for-all, it feels more like.
Yes, exactly. Another day in the lives of those who would guide us through.
Another day in the lives of those who would guide us through.
That's very, very tongue-in-cheek.
It's very, I love how much he does that in this. It's like, we're supposed to respect these people. They are the highest level of, they're at the highest position of the land.
An aspirational, yes, they are leading, and they are leading by example, whether they are aware of it or not.
Exactly, yeah. If they can't be civil, how can we?
Right.
Yeah.
The next line, it follows perhaps that we should by their example do.
It follows perhaps that we should by their example do.
So yes, they're all high up, they're well educated, they're respectable, we should be like them.
And if they're fighting about it, maybe we should.
And then it goes on, but there again, I think for less, poor Guy went to the wall.
But there again, I think for less, poor guy went to the wall.
Do you know what this is in reference to?
No, is it Guy Fawkes?
Yes!
Oh, see, I was looking for it literally just struck me. I was looking for a politician around this time that was named Guy. And I was like, who? I found a single dude named Guy Barnett who was in the House of Commons at this time, but I didn't see anything about a fight and nothing about that. But it just struck me as Guy Fawkes.
So Guy Fawkes was at the center of the gunpowder plot. The plot was famously to blow up the Houses of Parliament.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
And he was caught because of some reason.
Natalie Portman, I think, was the reason.
Oh, that was it. Yeah. And he basically was literally the term fall guy comes from him.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
He was the original fall guy because there were a lot of other conspirators and some of them, were eventually apprehended, but they made a big showing out of executing him. And then he's been burnt in effigy. He's been burnt in effigy every year since, and they light off fireworks. So
Guy Fawkes Day.
So what he was, and I don't know the details of it. We're just Americans looking through a glass dimly at the UK and saying, "Oh, look,
I think that's a squiggle.
I think that tea looks cold." But the idea is that maybe the right course of action for us, the listener, and him, the singer, is to just stay out of all this nonsense.
Yeah, thinking about it like that, putting these last lines together, it follows perhaps that we should by their example do, but there again, I think for less, poor Guy went to the wall. So maybe by example, we should fight the government. If they're fighting, we should fight the government.
But we might get burned at the stake for it or hung.
But Guy Fawkes got burned for less. So maybe we shouldn't do it.
And then he almost reverses it. The wrong house, but the right idea.
To end the Commons brawl.
The wrong house, but the right idea. To end the Commons brawl.
Meaning, the only way to stop these politicians from fighting is to blow them all up. To destroy them all.
And start with the House of Lords.
Well, and I wonder if that's because of the Guy Fawkes connection. Maybe he was trying to blow up the House of Lords and not the House of Commons.
Saying he chose the wrong house, but the wrong idea.
Perhaps, yeah.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Which is, a pretty spicy stance for Mr. Milquetoast Anderson.
Bold statement. Every now and then he comes out with something that's fairly courageous to put out there.
Strongly flavored.
Yeah. It's milk toast with a little raspberry jam on there.
A little hot sauce.
This scotch needs a bonnet. Who put a scotch in your bonnet?
I like that. That's funny.
Yeah, is it?
Is it though, really?
Is it a pity laugh? So, overall, what do we make of this song?
I love the tune.
Love the tune.
Very fun, very sweet and light. And it does show, now that we know more the context of the song, of what's being presented with the lyrics here, we do have the lightness of like, ooh, we're royalty and we're high up and we're fancy. And then there's the heavy electric of fighting amidst them, or the common people getting the idea to fight them as well.
I love that interpretation. I had thought of it more in terms of the penny whistle representing tradition and the long-standingness of this form of government. Mm-hmm. And then the electric, representing the cracks in the system that are being revealed by the pressures of modernity.
Right, the Discord, yeah.
The Discord chat, which you can join for a mere $5 a month.
Join our Patreon.
Now that is a real participatory democracy. I would put this into the category of one of the slices of life songs. Slice of life, subcategory England. It's not a big conceptual, concept-y song. It's not a fantasy.
Right.
It's not really much of a narrative. It's kind of like, hey, this thing, this thing. Oh man, those crazy guys.
So on par with Black Sunday, or does Black Sunday have that narrative that you're talking about?
I think Black Sunday has more of the narrative.
Yeah.
I would say this is almost more Broadford Bazaar.
Yeah.
In this location, people behave thusly.
Right. Very slice of life. Yeah. Good point. Yep.
Slice of life, toasted on one side, butter.
Yep.
Simple as.
Don't drop it. Yeah.
Nick,
Omen.
to what does the Honorable Mome from upstate New York have the honor of representing to bringing us next week?
Yes. Checks out. Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
I like it. It's floral language. It works. Next week, we are doing another track off of disc 2. This is track 12. This is another one, Commons Brawl, and this one we're doing next week are ones that were remastered on that Broadsword re-release. We are covering No Step next week.
No Step.
I think J-Man CeeLo said he liked this one. I feel like it's been a long time. I think this is one that he said he really liked. Could be wrong. J-Man CeeLo, write in and let us know.
Write in lettuce. No.
Write on lettuce. No.
The word no.
The word no.
Mail it to us, and if we can read it, we'll know.
Then Liz Truss is still Prime Minister.
That's right. Until next week, my jackets are off. I am Omen Thomas Sade.
I am neither right nor honorable. I am Nick McGill.
We spray hot graffiti. We are the Feckless Momes.
And this is the furious cry in a dark mill town. Talk tell to me.
Order! The government chief whip has absolutely no business whatsoever shouting from a sedentary position. Order! The honourable gentleman will remain in the chamber. When...
Sorry? It still is. Just call second. Yeah, I know what I'm doing.
Since when an amendment has...
Order. I know what I'm doing.
When he turns up at our children's school as a parent, he's a very well-behaved fellow. Be a good boy!
That at
Order,
any time in our
order.
history.
I apologise for interrupting the Prime Minister. There is simply far too much noise. The public doesn't like it, and neither do I. Prime
This
Minister.
government or that Labour Party led by Jeremy Corbyn.
We don't name people in the chamber. People must observe the rules. No, order! Order! Order, I am simply and politely informing the Prime Minister of the very long established procedure with which everybody, including the Prime Minister, must comply. Mr. Lewis, get a grip of yourself, man. Calm. Take up yoga, you'll find it beneficial, man. I say to member... Order! Resume your seat, Mr. Harper. You don't stand when I'm standing, and that's the end of it. Mr. Angus Brendan McNeil, calm yourself. You may be a cheeky chappy, but you're also an exceptionally noisy one. The Prime Minister will please withdraw the word idiot. It's unparliamentary. A simple withdrawal will suffice. We're grateful. Order. Put it back. No. Order. I must order the honourable gentleman to withdraw immediately from the House for the remainder of this day's sitting. This is intolerable behaviour as far as the public... No, it's not funny. That sticker on the subject of Brexit happens to be affixed to or in the windscreen of my wife's car. Yes. And I'm sure the honourable gentleman wouldn't suggest for one moment that a wife is somehow the property or chattel of her husband. You are well-intentioned and principled, but you are overexcitable and you need to contain yourself. It requires you to take some medicament, then so be it. After the imposition of the migrant ban by President Trump, I am even more strongly opposed to an address by President Trump in Westminster Hall. She's asked the question. I dealt with it months ago. I've reiterated the rationale for the way in which I responded. The matter has been treated of.
The Chamber will remember that Talk Tull to Me is a proud member of the Feckless Moments audio network.
Yeah.
Order!
Yeah.
Order!